a new series of artworks from New Orleans-based award-winning performance, visual artist, and cultural activist Jose Torres-Tama chronicles Latin American immigrants' efforts to help rebuild the Crescent City in the wake of 2005's Hurricane Katrina, which caused widespread destruction, flooding, and loss of life. Torres-Tama's Katrina at 20 art show is titled No Papers, No Fear. He joins us now. Welcome to the program. Jose, you have been speaking out through art for decades. This latest show, No Papers, No Fear, was 12 years in the making. What are you exploring, and how did the exhibit come about?
First of all, just to let you know, I escaped on a stolen school bus 3 days after Levees breached. It was a very dramatic escape. I was on the same bus Alan Toussaint was on, our native son, genius composer. And I got back a month later on October 1st, 2005, because I was exiled in Gainesville. And what was amazing to see is that everywhere I looked, and I was returning back to my Dauphine Street neighborhood, and at the time we really couldn't get back into the city. They had the zip code plan, but got back in. But everywhere I looked, there were hundreds upon hundreds of Latin American immigrants on the rooftops. And myself being bilingual and speaking in Spanish, I started speaking to this workforce. And I just wanted to know how they got in, first of all, and what they were doing as part of the rebuilding. It was really bearing witness to something I had never expected.
What is the reach of art in this show?
With their permission, I began photographing the Latin American immigrant activists, and especially the Congress of Day Laborers, the immigrant activist group. And those photographs are the inspiration. Many of the black and white photographs are the inspiration for these pieces, especially the new large pieces. The new large canvases came about because I was awarded a Joe Mitchell Center 4-month studio. And that really inspired me to get back to painting. I hadn't painted in a while, making big paintings. They're 4 by 6 feet. So I just threw myself into it.
Now, you are exhibiting in a new art space in New Orleans' Bywater neighborhood. What can you tell us about this gallery?
This is a community art space. Its acronym is CANOA, which means canoe, Caribbean and New Orleanian Arts, at 4210 St. Claude Avenue in the Bywater. And it's a new space founded by a Cuban photographer and his collaborating partner, Jebney Lewis. And we're exhibiting there because I think it's the most prominent possibility to have the immigrant workers experience this work.
Now, this subject of Latin American immigrants rebuilding the city of New Orleans is close to your heart, as you are an Ecuadorian immigrant. Describe some of your new works and your use of color. What will visitors experience, and how does this work move your concerns forward?
My work is about our people, our suffering. It's my way to document. It's a visual history chronicle, making sure that our immigrant people receive the proper honor and commemoration for their struggle in rebuilding the city while they have experienced wage theft, brutal deportations, horrific health conditions and working, and I've done interviews with many of the undocumented immigrants, and many of them were undocumented who rebuilt the city. And we're going to a time, probably one of the most dramatic, raging, anti-immigrant, hysterical times ever in this country. So my palette is very tropical. It's very colorful, even though I'm dealing with some difficult subject matter. And the works are very expressionistic. They're figurative works for sure, but they also work as a visual history project, as a means to document our people's presence and our people's contribution to the epic rebirth of New Orleans in the 20 years since.
Many of the workers were undocumented. Were there provisions or exceptions made to allow them to work construction jobs in the rebuilding effort?
Well, in terms of bringing in immigrant laborers, that had been a strategy that was used after Hurricane Andrew in Florida, and that became the new way to deal with the situation of such a massive reconstruction effort. So when I interviewed some of them, they told me that the National Guard just let them in. They were in covered vans. They were brought in as a workforce that was brought in quietly, but obviously they were everywhere. I say it's the dirtiest little secret of the reconstruction of post-Katrina New Orleans, that the city was rebuilt by hundreds upon hundreds of Latin American immigrant workers, many of them undocumented, but many of them willing to work and offer their labor, their love, and their blood to rebuild a very broken and flooded city. So, myself as a visual artist, I often see myself in poetry and in performance as somebody who documents and chronicles. So, this is my means to chronicle our people's pain. And inspired by the photographs, many of the images deal with catching the marches, people not actively reconstructing, but they are prominent figures within the visual art world that I've created that honors these workers. So it is a mixed media body of visual artwork, large acrylic paintings, there's even oil paintings. I also work on paper, so there's large mixed media works on paper that are mounted on wood with different mixed media elements that also spell out particular situation. One of them in particular, the one called No Papers, No Fear. And for people to know, no papers, no fear, that's the chant, the mantra of the undocumented immigrant laborers. That is that they don't have the proper papers, but they don't have the fear either to be able to demonstrate. In addition to the fact that they rebuilt the city, and I think, like I've said before, it's the dirtiest little secret of the Reconstruction because we don't really honor that. Like, there's going to be a lot of things happening around Katrina at 20. I think I'm one of the few artists, visual artists and poets that actually is speaking to that situation about our immigrant people being such a big part of the Reconstruction.
New Orleans-based award-winning performance, visual artist, and cultural activist, Jose Torres-Tama. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Jose Torres-Tama's No Papers, No Fear, Katrina at 20 art show opens Saturday, August 9th and runs through October 24th. More info is online at torrestama.com. This is New Orleans Public Radio, 89.9 WWNO, New Orleans, informing and inspiring Southeast Louisiana for 53 years from the University of New Orleans. You'll find 24-hour classical music on 104.9 FM, WWNO HD2, and now also on 89.5 FM in Covington and Mack.